Hi, I'm making this video instead of studying for my exams that start in less than a month that determine whether or not I get into university. But I'd rather be thinking about and talking about Heartstopper, specifically the character Isaac. If you decided to watch this video, you probably already know who Isaac is and definitely know what Heartstopper is, but I'll give a very quick recap of the story. The version I'll be talking about here is a TV show, an adaptation of the ongoing comics made by author and illustrator Alice Oseman, the creator of some of my favorite books of all time. The focus on my video, Isaac, is a close friend of the main character Charlie Spring, a 15-16-year-old boy who has to deal with all the baggage of being gay and in a relationship with another gay in a small, largely homophobic British town, with all of his fellow gay mates. The story of Heartstopper is mostly based around his relationship with his upperclassman Nick Nelson, a rugby lad, as well as the dynamic nature of their changing friendship groups as all their friends fall in love. Well, most of them. They're super cute and deserve all the happiness, and I already want to rewatch the series for the second time this week just thinking about it. So, where does Isaac fit into all of this? Well, he doesn't. And that's the main crux of his character. He's a fellow loser nerd who loves reading and isn't nearly as romance crazy or interested as all of his friends. In Season 2, he discovers and begins identifying with the labels aromantic and asexual, the shorthand of this specific joint identity being our ace. This identity being shared by the creator, Alice Oseman. Now, I'm going to do exactly what I'll be criticizing Isaac for and look the audience straight in the eye by explaining what our ace means. Someone who is aromantic experiences little to no romantic attraction. Someone who is asexual experiences little to no sexual attraction. The combination of these two identities being our ace. These identities exist along the spectrum. You don't have to be aromantic to be asexual. You don't have to be asexual to be aromantic. Some people who identify with these labels might not want to have romance or sex ever, but maybe sometimes they do. Everyone's experiences with attraction are different and nuanced, and if you meet an arrow ace person or have an arrow ace person in your life, don't make them feel like they need to explain the ins and outs of their attraction, because that can be very invasive and unnecessary. Just listen to what they have to say. But why should I or anyone have an issue with a character explaining and exploring this largely ignored and invalidated identity to a large mainstream audience? Well, I don't have an issue with it. It's so unbelievably important that our ace people are being represented in the media by a character that isn't an alien, robot, or villain, and it's just a mostly likable character who's a companion to the main cast. But that's kind of all he is. He's mainly just used as a device to cause tension because of the fact he doesn't run a relationship or experience attraction, and it makes me feel so sad. Our ace lives don't center on the fact they're not in a relationship. The least interesting thing about any person is their relationship status. I hate that's all that Isaac is. Most of the main side characters feel like people with nuance and lives and hobbies and families besides Isaac. What do we know about him? He reads, he gets understandably upset when his friends show too much PDA, and he's arrow ace. We don't even know the last two things until Season 2. Before then, he's just books and a foil to the argumentative Tao. That's it. That's not fun to me, and it's not interesting to me. In the first season, he is completely irrelevant and is only used as a stand-in for the actually well-rounded but largely still unused in Heartstopper character of Alad Last. There's a whole book about him, for Christ's sake, that you should read, that everyone should read. I know he likely isn't the story, because if Oseman's Radio Silence was ever made into a movie or whatever, it would be very hard to make it make sense with him existing here. But my favourite character in all of the Oseman-verse deserves a good replacement, damn it. Granted, in the comics, Alad is hardly relevant either, but an adaptation is a chance to revise and expand on characters and the place they take up in stories. If Alad was in the show exactly how he is in the comics, I'd be pretty disappointed too, I'm not gonna lie. Alice and the Heartstopper show team are wonderfully talented writers, and I'm sure they could have made Isaac as interesting and as nuanced as the rest of the cast, which I'll get into later. In the second season, one of his friends, James, has a crush on him, and Isaac has to deal with a very awkward experience of having to turn someone down. He struggles to understand why he doesn't feel this attraction back, and through the magical power of representation, he discovers the label of arrow ace. He finally understands himself. It's beautiful to watch. I was so satisfied with his exploration and was so excited for the rest of his character to be built upon. But it's not. The audience is taught about the label arrow ace, and his purpose is over. He's irrelevant again. He goes back to reading. Okay, cool. Maybe Season 3 will tell us something about, I don't know, his family, his experiences with gender. What makes the book so intriguing to him? Does he write, draw? How's his mental health? What is he going to do once he graduates? What does he do other than attempt to glue together his friendship group that's being melted away by all the shed saliva? Throughout Season 3, he has to cope with his friendship group continuing to change. All his friends have been paired up, but Nick and Charlie, along with Darcy and Tara, like Ellie and Tao, continue to prioritize their relationship over their friend group for their own personal and nuanced reasons, making Isaac understandably upset. Being the only person not in a relationship is already isolating and alienating enough, but that with the added pressure of literally never being able to meet those expectations and milestones your peers seeming to be thriving past, it's really sad. In Season 3, he also has a heart-to-heart with Charlie, where he comes out as error ace, and the well-meaning but uneducated Charlie doesn't know what aromantic means, so Isaac tells him to Google it. It feels like dramatic irony watching him complain to his mates that he doesn't want to give them vocab lessons when that feels like his primary purpose of being in the show. Our ace people's lives don't center on the fact they're not in a relationship. Whether or not someone is in a relationship is the least interesting thing about them. People have family, hobbies, friends, all of which I'm sure Isaac has, but just aren't being explored in interesting or meaningful ways. I just want more from him so badly. Outside of the characters' relationships, we know that Charlie's in a band, struggles deeply with mental health, has issues with his family. Nick is struggling with where he fits in the world, who his friends are, who he is. He also plays rugby, etc., etc. They're the two main characters, so it makes sense that they're the most in-depth. But we also know that Ellie has struggled with intense bullying and dysphoria due to her being a trans woman, and she's also an incredible painter. Tal loves cinema and creating video, and struggles with abandonment due to the loss of his father. Although upbeat and lighthearted, Darcy comes from an abusive household and struggles to cope with the weight of that on their shoulders, also exploring their gender identity. Tara struggles to cope with rampant homophobia and what she actually wants to do with her life, how to balance her relationship with Darcy while also doing ballet on the side. There's also Imogen and Saha, but this tangent is going on for a bit too long. I do pray that Saha becomes actually interesting in Season 4 though. Please. The creator, illustrator, and writer of the wonderful series being openly Ara Ace herself, having an entire book with an Ara Ace protagonist and narrator, I can say in near complete confidence that she meant the absolute best when making Isaac. He serves his educational purpose as well. And in the context of a very romance-centric series, he is a breath of well-needed fresh air. Like I've said, there's so many more areas of his character that can be explored. His dependence on books is especially interesting to me, seeing as though it's like one of his only characteristics. Is he autistic and this is a way of self-regulating, or is it a special interest? Are they used as coping strategy for his secretly difficult life? How does he relate to his favourite books, his favourite characters? Does he read fanfic? Does he write fanfic? He doesn't need a tragic backstory or overly complicated life. Just anything, please. Either way, you're allowed to love Isaac, and I definitely love Heartstopper. Criticizing it is how I show my love, because I want it to be the best piece of media ever, because it's literally changing the world. But maybe I've missed the point of Isaac. Maybe I'm just complaining because I don't understand the wonderful complexities of his totally deep character. But I hope that me making this video and starting or contributing to the conversation can lead to a better, more well-rounded Isaac for the next and likely final season. Maybe I didn't articulate my feelings very well, but I still think it's worth making this video. Thank you for watching, and please don't burn me at the stake. I am open to listening to other people's opinions, and maybe you can change my